Beach. Meanwhile, real estate demand in Palm Beach hitting a fever pitch after Donald Trump's resounding victory. Our next guest represents roughly 1/3 of Palm Beach waterfront property market. Joining me now is senior luxury real estate advisor in Palm Beach, senior luxury real estate advisor at Premier Estate Properties, and top Palm Beach realtor Margit Brandt. Margit, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. You've been churning out lots of sales there in Palm Beach. How would you assess the market today?
Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, our market has been very strong. I think post-election, there's most certainly been a Trump bump. You know, leading up to any election, sometimes there's a bit of a pause where people want clarity. They want to understand what's happening. But now with election clarity and with Trump in office, we have seen, you know, even in the last week since the election, we've seen 100 million of properties go pending. We just put another 25 million pending yesterday. So the market has been strong, and specifically in the last week, strong.
Now, Margit, you say Trump's Mar-a-Lago property is valued between $1 billion and $1.5 billion, and that it could fetch up to $2 billion with the elimination of deed restrictions. Trump bought that property for about $10 million back in 1985 and put millions into renovations. Margit, you listed this property in the past. You've also listed a property across the street for rent. I want you to tell us more about Trump's Florida listings and their valuations. But first, Mark Tepper, we were just talking about this during the commercial break. This was the question for one of the attacks on President Trump by Letitia James.
Yeah, and she claimed that it was only worth $18 million, which I think anyone with a brain inside their skull realized that was way understated. But yeah, that was the claim against Trump, was that he, quote unquote, overinflated the value of his properties to secure financing to grow his wealth. I'd love to hear what this is actually worth.
Exactly. You're in the business and you're valuing it at what? She said 18 million.
Well, I mean, if we take a look at Mar-a-Lago, let's start here, Maria. The guest house alone is worth 75 to 100 million. If you take a look at Palm Beach Island waterfront land, right, and keep in mind we're a small island. We're only 12 miles long, half a mile wide, so it's not a big market. Scarcity is a real thing for us. We only have 2,500 homes on this island. So if you take into account waterfront land pricing, which the average is about $1,600 per foot. We've seen some sales on the ocean as high as $2,000 per foot. But, you know, if you take a look at Mar-a-Lago, it's 20 acres. And, for example, we just sold the most expensive property ever sold in the U.S., a private island here in Palm Beach for $152 million, most expensive sale so far in the country this year. That went for $152 million. If you do some very simple math, $152 million times 10, which equates to the 20 acres of Mar-a-Lago, you're at $1.5 billion. That's not taking into account the 100,000 square feet of house that he has on the land. It's similar frontage, so that's $500 million of house. So $1.5 billion of land plus $500 million of house, you're at $2 billion, in my opinion. Even if you short, you know, say that it's really, you know, more than 1.5 or 1.75, the 18 million evaluation was so far off base and clearly done by someone who has no understanding of Palm Beach Island real estate or its pricing.
Well, I mean, it's more than that. I mean, these valuations can be quantified, right? I mean,
yeah.
Like, we're talking to one of the leading real estate people in Palm Beach. You know, I mean, Letitia James could have gotten those numbers.
She could have gotten those numbers.
How does she get away with saying that he overstated it and it's actually worth $18 million?
Well, let me just ask, what would have happened if Kamala Harris was in office and her unrealized capital gains went into effect? What would they value it? They value it 18 million or $1.5 billion? I'm wondering.
Yeah, so that's a question for you, Margit. What about those unrealized gains taxes that Kamala Harris wanted to put in place and higher taxes? Would that have put a freeze on the market?
Oh, my God. I mean, I'm so glad you asked about that. If I could tell you, Maria, how many people sent me that about the unrealized gains, I mean, that would have been an absolute disaster. And only someone who hasn't run a business would come up with something like that. So, I mean, that would have been terrible. But we're grateful because we have some real, like, business minds behind Trump. We have some of the most brilliant minds in business, like Elon Musk and Howard Lutnick and Bill Ackman. And I think people are super excited to have, you know, not D.C. bureaucrats, but business leaders that I really think this is an exciting time for our country, and it's without a doubt going to be good for the Palm Beach market.
All right, Margit, thanks very much. Margit Brandt joining us in Palm Beach this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You're watching Mornings with Maria live on Fox Business.